In this lecture, we are going to continue about studying the subaltern approach of Mahatma Gandhi and are going to begin the discussion with Swadeshi model of development. He considered Swadeshi as the law of laws, wherein the basic concept or the base on which the Swadeshi model rested is self-acting. He said that import was one of the biggest causes of poverty because at that time the population, the masses, they were so enamored by the beauty of the imported products that the indigenous products, the homegrown products, were losing their value, were losing their desire by the people to purchase them, and as a consequence, the indigenous producers were suffering. For this, he provided a remedy with khadi. He said that khadi fulfills the kind of service which the Swadeshi looks at. Okay, the vision of Swadeshi, it can be fulfilled by something like khadi. He also said that khadi could be a way of showing universal love and service by doing what? By first becoming a patron of our own local products, which we are again doing in times today. We are going vocal for local. And this is what he talked about years ago, back then. And by first becoming patron of our own products, only then we can show the world that the kind of service we can provide is exemplary. He said that Swadeshi is a doctrine of selfless service which has its roots in ahimsa. Ahimsa as a weapon, but as a moral weapon. So he said that there should be a relationship between the production, distribution, and consumption of these local products, and it should be very organic and pure. It should be ahimsa based. Moving ahead to the social dimension of Swadeshi. Initially, in the beginning, he accepted the Varna system, which is the fourfold division of society based on the duties of our own caste. But he was a firm believer of the fact that all professions are equal. Everybody should be treated equally, and work is worship. No matter what kind of work you are doing, you have to worship it. It has to be regarded, and every work is equal and is important. He was against the orthodox practices and evils in the society and was very much against the caste system, which was based on birth and social status. In sociology, it is known as ascribed status. He identified with the untouchables. At that time, the Harijans, as he called them, or the practice of untouchability, was like a part and parcel in our society. But he was totally against them. And he said that in order to attain true Swaraj, we must uplift the deprived sections of the society. For example, uplifting the Dalits, the women, the tribals, the lepers, and in this regard, he came up with an 18-point constructive program which was based on reconstruction of society through voluntary and participatory social action. It acted like a civil society or NGOs, and he considered that as a very ahimsa based and truthful way of attaining Purna Swaraj. Now coming to the next concept, that is the Sarvodaya model or the rise of all. He was against capitalism where the power was uh, assembled in the hands of the few privileged one, and he empathized with the masses who were stuck with poverty and deprivation because they did not have the opportunity over the resources in the society. And he said that socialism and capitalism are both not suitable for the society. He gave the concept of Sarvodaya with three basic principles. These principles are: first, the good of the individual is contained in good of all. That means he gave this concept for the masses who were suffering, and he said that the good of individual is contained in good of everybody. So everybody should be taken together. We should walk hand in hand towards the betterment. Second, lawyer's work has the same value as the barber's because he already mentioned that every work is important and equal. Work is worship. So he's comparing the work of a lawyer to that of a barber. And he said that they have the same right of earning their livelihood from their work. So nobody on the basis of their profession should be discriminated against. Third, life of a labor, that is the life of the tiller of the soil and handicraft man is the life worth living. Again, he's focusing on the same point that no work or no life is less than anybody else's just because of the virtue of it or just because the society considered a lawyer's work as more important than a barber's or a farmer's. We now understand how important the farmers are. Living in the society today, we understand, especially in the times of a pandemic, that every job, every profession is so important and we are so highly codependent on each other. So, this is what the three principles of the concept of Sarvodaya are. This was later led by Vinoba Bhave. Coming to his views on education. He gave the concept of Nai Talim, which is also known as the Vardha scheme of basic education or the Bunyadi Talim. So, the conference that was held in Vardha, which is in Maharashtra in the year 1937, he said that there should be a holistic development of an individual and only then it is education. He said that being literate is not being educated. An educated person has a wholesome personality and education was very much required at that period of time because again the imperials were far ahead than the agrarian society of Indians where majority of the people were uneducated or illiterate or just simple farmers who did not know about their own rights and duties and privileges. So education was a tool which could be defeated, which could be used to defeat the evils of the society like untouchability. So he said that British education system is doing us no good and we need our own education system where work and education are not separate but complementary of each other. He thought of education as a silent social revolution which could be used to curb the social evils like class discrimination, untouchability. But the problem here was the British realized that if this scheme of basic education was to be prospered, it is going to be a big disadvantage for them because the uneducated Indians would then become educated and fight them. Therefore, it was not very successful. And then what happened? Gradually, people got accustomed with the British education system. And to introduce something like the Nai Talim after years of the British rule, it became a very difficult job for the government. However, in the year 2020, the new education policy inculcated various points from New Talim, like learning by doing, exposure to multiple skills, introducing mother tongue in the curriculum, and stressing on multilingual um, academia, giving the choice to students to select the course on the basis of their interests and learning beyond textbooks. We see now how many subjects are there apart from the basic textbooks and which help in the development of skills and development of the personality of students. Like there are horse riding clubs, baking clubs in the school, language club, and many more. Let us discuss some questions now. Statement 1 says Gandhi's ideology of Nai Talim was incorporated in the National Curriculum Framework of 2005. And statement 2 says it was based on the idea of acquiring new knowledge, forming skills, and value creation. So we understand that both of these are true. If you also remember that we had a subject in school which was known as SUPW, which means socially useful productive work. It was also based on Nai Talim framework. Question number 2. Which ethical principle from the Gita inspired Gandhi? So, the ethical principle on which he emphasized was Atma Shakti, where he said that We should not perform our duty because we are expecting the fruit of our duty or fruit of our action. We should do it only and only because it is our duty, and we should detach ourselves from the fruit of this action or this duty. He emphasized on the fact that if your intention, if your motive, it is pure, that means you are correct no matter what the world says. So I hope you got this lecture. Thank you for watching.